Hello, my name is Will, a student at Waukesha South High School in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Like many of my fellow peers, I have experienced depressive episodes and have had suicidal thoughts. If you're severely struggling, please call 988. It is a free hotline to talk to someone when you're in need. But right now, there's some data that you should be aware of. From the CDC as of 2021, more than 4 in 10, being 42% of students, felt persistently sad or hopeless, and nearly 1/3, being 29%, experienced poor mental health. While 1 in 5 students seriously attempted committing suicide, and 1 in 10 attempted suicide. Those are some big numbers, considering that there are around 16.9 million kids in high school in 2021, 15.4 million in public schools, while 1.5 million were in private institutions. To apply those statistics to tangible data, 7,098,000 students felt sad or hopeless. 4,901,000 reported poor mental health. 3,718,000 were thinking about suicide with a plan. Then 1.69 million attempted suicide and thankfully failed. But sadly, 1,952 of our fellow students took their own life that year. If you feel lost or sad, tune into this podcast every Tuesday and Wednesday, where we discuss healthy coping mechanisms, ways to move forward, and hear other people's stories, not as a podcaster and their audience, but as friends. We all care about you as a person here at Teen Lives Matter. But today, I'd like to talk about a topic that's incredibly important, yet often misunderstood: teenage mental health. Adolescence is a time of rapid change, both physically and emotionally. While it's often associated with growth and discovery, it can also be a period marked by confusion, anxiety, and even overwhelming stress. As we navigate the complexities of our evolving identities, relationships, and societal pressures, understanding mental health is more important than ever. Let's start by discussing the biological aspect. The teenage brain is still developing, specifically the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and understanding consequences. This area, right here, doesn't fully mature until the mid-20s, which means you're more likely to make decisions based on emotion rather than logic. Combine that with fluctuating hormones, and it becomes clear why we often experience intense emotions. However, it's not just biology at play. We're also grappling with societal changes, like navigating friendships, romantic relationships, and academic pressures. These are critical years where we are figuring out who we are, where we belong, and what we want to do with our lives. Many adults assume that teenagers are just being moody, but we need to take a mental health struggle seriously. According to studies, 1 in 5 teens will experience a mental health disorder such as anxiety, depression, or behavioral issues. It's a staggering number when you think about it. These symptoms can manifest in different ways. Anxiety may look like an excessive worry, irritability, or avoiding certain situations. Depression often involves persistent sadness, withdrawal from friends or activities, or changes in sleep and eating habits. There's also stress. Teens today face enormous pressure to succeed academically, be socially accepted, meet expectations from family and society. Social media has amplified these pressures by creating a space where teens often compare themselves to others, leading to feelings of inadequacy, also known as imposter syndrome. Mental health issues in adolescence can lead to more severe consequences later in life, including substance abuse, academic failure, and even self-harm and suicide. Tragically, suicide is the 3rd most leading cause in death among teenagers, which just underscores how important it is to have open conversations about mental health. One of the major hurdles in addressing our mental health is the stigma around it. There are several misconceptions that prevent us from seeking help. For example, it's just a phase. Some adults think that our emotional distress will naturally pass with time. So while some changes may be temporary, dismissing the struggle can make us feel invalidated and alone. Talking about mental health makes it worse. Many fear that discussing mental health issues may plant ideas in our mind. In reality, opening up the dialogue is crucial. Talking about it provides each other with language to express what they're going through and reassures them that they are not alone. Teens just need to toughen up. That mindset overlooks the reality that mental health issues are medical conditions. We can't just get over anxiety or depression by willpower alone. It's like telling a guy with a broken leg to walk it off. It's feasibly impossible. We need support, understanding, friends, and sometimes professional help. How would we combat this? First, we should normalize seeking help. Seeing a therapist or counselor should be as normal as visiting the doctor for a physical ailment. Schools and communities should provide access to mental health resources, not shut them away from us. They should also encourage us to seek help when we need it. Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Managing stress is also critical, which is why you need good coping mechanisms. Techniques like mindfulness, regular exercise, journaling, or even just talking to a friend can be helpful. However, be mindful of unhealthy coping mechanisms such as substance abuse. And then we have the problem of social media. Social media is a double-edged sword. While it allows us to connect with others, it also fosters comparison, cyberbullying, and an unrealistic portrayal of life. Use social media mindfully and take breaks when you need it. And at the heart of the teenage mental health is empathy. We may not always articulate our struggles clearly, and it's difficult to find someone who understands what we're going through because we, as teenagers, are naturally a deep well of emotional turmoil and confusion. Empathy, putting ourselves in each other's shoes, allows us to offer the patience and understanding others need. Sometimes just knowing that someone cares enough to listen can make all the difference. Now we're diving into another critical issue: common mental health disorders in teens. As we all know, teenage years can be challenging with physical, emotional, and social changes happening all at once. Many of us struggle with mental health issues that can impact our well-being in future. First up is anxiety disorders, which are among the most common mental health issues we face. Anxiety is a normal response to stress, but for some teens, like myself, anxiety becomes overwhelming and difficult to manage. Anxiety has come in different forms, such as GAD, standing for Generalized Anxiety Disorder. This is when we feel excessively worried about a wide range of situations, like school, friendships, or even our future, even when there's not a clear reason to be anxious. Next is SAD, Social Anxiety Disorder. Those with social anxiety disorder feel intense fear in social situations, often worrying about being judged or embarrassed. This can make simple things like participating in class or going to social events feel unbearable. And then panic disorder. This involves sudden and repeated panic attacks, where we might experience shortness of breath, heart palpitations, and overwhelming fear. Anxiety disorders can also show up as just restlessness, difficulty concentrating, irritability, and avoiding situations that trigger our anxiety. It is important to recognize that teens with anxiety disorders are not just stressed out. They're dealing with an intense emotional and physical response that just interfere with their daily lives. Next, let's talk about depression, another prevalent mental health disorder in teens. While it's normal for us teenagers to experience mood swings and occasional sadness, depression is so much different. It's a persistent feeling of sadness or loss of interest in things they once enjoyed. Symptoms of depression can include feeling hopeless or worthless, loss of energy or motivation, changes in sleep patterns such as sleeping for 16 hours or sleeping super little, like sleeping like an hour or so. Appetite changes. You start eating tons and tons of food for no reason whatsoever. Or you have the flip side, where you just don't eat at all. Difficulty concentrating, and thoughts of self-harm or suicide. For some, depression can manifest in irritability or anger rather than sadness. It's important to note that depression isn't something a teen can just snap out of. It's a serious medical condition that requires support and, in many cases, professional treatment and help. Next, we have ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. It's a very common mental health disorder that can affect us teens. ADHD is often associated with younger children, but it continues into adolescence and adulthood for many. ADHD comes in two main forms, inattentive and hyperactive impulsive. The inattentive type may struggle with focus, organization, and completing tasks. They might seem easily distracted or forgetful, while the hyperactive impulsives seem restless, constantly moving, talking excessively, or acting impulsively without thinking things through. Those with ADHD may struggle academically in their relationships because their symptoms are often misunderstood as like laziness or lack of discipline. However, ADHD is neurological. It's up here. We can't change that. It's a disorder that affects how a person processes information and regulates their behavior. Next comes eating disorders, which are another significant issue in teens, particularly during a time when body image concerns are heightened. The most common eating disorders include the following: anorexia nervosa, bulimia, and bulimia nervosa, binge eating disorder. Let's start with anorexia nervosa. Commonly known as just anorexia, they have an intense fear of gaining weight and will take extreme lengths to restrict their food intake. This can lead to dangerous weight loss and serious health problems because they might just not eat for days on end. Then comes bulimia nervosa. This cycle is binge eating followed by purging, either through vomiting, excessive exercise, or use of laxatives. While those with bulimia may maintain a normal weight, the behaviors can cause significant physical and emotional harm. Then, binge eating disorder. This is characterized by regularly eating large amounts of food in a short period of time, often in secret. Unlike bulimia, those with binge eating disorder don't purge afterward, which can lead to excessive weight gain and other health issues. And eating disorders are a mix of genetic, psychological, and social factors. Teens who struggle with these disorders may use food as a way to cope with feelings of low self-worth, perfectionism, or lack of control in their lives. Next, not fun topic: substance abuse and addiction. It can be a cause and consequence of mental health struggles in us. Some of us turn to drugs, alcohol, or other substances as a way to cope with our emotional pain and stress. Unfortunately, this can lead to addiction, which only compounds our challenges. Substance abuse in us teenagers often coincides with other mental health disorders, which makes treatment more complex. Signs of substance abuse may include changes in behavior, mood swings, declining academic performance, and secrecy. It's crucial for people that we look up to, mainly adults, to approach us that are struggling with substance abuse with empathy and understanding. These behaviors are often symptoms of a deeper emotional issue. Next, a topic that I'm way too familiar with. Finally, we need to discuss the risk of self-harm and suicide among teenagers with mental health disorders. Self-harm, such as cutting or burning, is often a way for teenagers to cope with overwhelming emotions. While self-harm isn't necessarily a sign of suicidal intent, it is a serious issue that can never be ignored. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, suicide is the third most leading cause of death in teenagers. If a teen is talking about feeling hopeless, saying things like "I can't go on," or showing signs of severe depression, it is crucial to take these signs seriously and get help immediately. If you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of suicide, reach out to a trusted adult or call helpline. Our helpline being 988. It's a free resource, and no one should have to go through these types of emotions alone. So, to wrap things up, we covered most common mental health disorders affecting teens today, being anxiety, depression, ADHD, eating disorders, substance abuse, and serious issue of self-harm and suicide. If you're a teen listening to this and you're struggling, I want you to know that you're not alone. Speak to a parent, counselor, trusted adult, even me. I want you to know that you're not alone in this fight. My email is always open at william4bradley@gmail.com. I will always respond to anything you send me. Thank you for tuning in to Teen Lives Matter. We will continue to explore these important issues in future episodes, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page and our Spotify page, and share this episode with anyone who may benefit from it. Until next time, take care of yourself and your mental health.